Thanks for logging in today and joining us. Really appreciate everyone taking some time. I know we're doing this midday today, which a lot of times these webinars are in the evenings. We thought we'll just do it during the middle of the day, and hopefully it's during lunchtime. Everyone's grabbing something to eat and can listen in a bit as to our topic today about utilizing genetics to develop nutritional protocols. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Lippy. I founded Reveal My DNA a couple of years back. Previous to that, I was working in the nutrition space as a consultant and helping practitioners utilize nutrition themselves in their practice. So great career that I had there and really enjoyed that. But now it's really fun taking something that we've been able to develop and has some personal purpose to me that I'll tell you guys about here in just a moment. Um, but I think that the first thing is people usually want to know why genetics. Genetics is something that I think a couple things. First of all, people are a little bit afraid of it. They may not understand it. There's a couple companies that have done some things that made genetics kind of taboo, but in reality, genetic testing gives us the absolute best blueprint to develop a protocol for your patients. And the reason I say that is in genetics, you inherit a gene from mom and from dad. And when you inherit that, if there's some sort of mutation or variation that you would have there, you are going to have less than optimal function. And so it really gives us this blueprint. And if you're able to get good quality testing with secure privacy, which we've done, um, then you have that ultimate blueprint to help your patients. So that's why we're so excited about this today, you guys, is um, we think we've checked all of the boxes. And I'm going to get started today by telling you a little bit of why this is so important to me and a little bit about my particular health journey and genetics. So this is actually a personal note, but it's just going to be a quick 3 minute story or so. Look, I feel like I've been healthy most of my life. For those of you that have known me for a long time, I used to be in the coffee business, and then after that, I was in the nutrition business. So I used to joke that I would create by being in the coffee business, selling frappuccinos with really high sugar content and selling tons of bagels and so forth, that I was creating a market for me to address with nutrition later, and not too far off from that. But for me personally, is I feel like I've always kind of been in good health and never really too much overweight. I would exercise generally. I ate pretty well. But then early this year in January, I was walking upstairs and literally collapsed to my knees. And I had ruptured a large intestine. And when I did that, I started seeping both internal into my abdominal cavity as well as into the intestine itself. And ended up in the emergency room, obviously. Some sepsis set in. And after, luckily being at a research hospital in San Diego where I live, UCSD, they were willing to run a bunch of different tests to find out, well, what happened. And what they found, to shorten this story up a little bit, is that I have a genetic mutation with a full deletion, meaning I didn't inherit it from my mom or my dad. And it's the 921P gene. It doesn't even have a name for it. It's just a series of numbers and letters. And what this does is it assimilates vitamin A into or pairing with bioflavonoids to make the inner lining of cells called the endothelium. And for me, that was weak. So the tissue broke. And luckily, surgically, they were able to repair that, remove the area where it was broken, but it still led to some other things of being able to take a look at my cardiovascular system to find out if I had other issues going on, et cetera. So it's led on this path of getting a lot of diagnostics done because I've got some things going on that I need to know about from a cardiovascular standpoint. My point of this story is this, is that after 6 months of dealing with that, two surgeries later, 12 days in the hospital, which I'd never been in a hospital before, I'm now healthier than I was before, exercising routinely, even more specific now because of the genetic test that I've been doing. Eating different foods because of the genetic test, and I'm doing something that I call life by genetics. So for me, what if I would have known this when I was 18 or 20 or 25, not at 50? And um, I could have done things differently so that I could assimilate those nutrients by over consuming some of them. Now, over consuming vitamin A can actually be dangerous for you, but bioflavonoids, a lot of citrus things, rutin, trying to get the right supplementation in is all really important. Plus, then also lowering the body pressure inside my body is something else that you can do to remove the pressure on the vascular system. So for me, I had this moment of, man, why didn't I know this? And it's so accessible. This is kind of the overview of this particular presentation. We'll probably be 30 to 40 minutes. So this won't be a real long, detailed thing. I want to explain what we've put together and see if you are interested in joining us on this journey of using genetics to develop protocols. Um, so look, my health is back on track, but I wish I would have known that. And so our test includes that particular gene, 9p20 or 921p, as well as 92 other genes, 112 SNPs, and that's in our comprehensive test. Then we've got a few other precision tests: methylation, longevity, and detoxification. And today we're not going to talk about the specifics of the test. It's more about our ecosystem, what we've put together, and how we think this will be, the next generation of what people use into developing nutritional protocols for their patients. When we first set out to put this company together, we thought we need to do something different so that we have a differentiator in the marketplace. And then regarding the test. And then number two is I am extremely private in things. So even just telling that little story about my health, not a big fan of that. So we have done everything possible to protect the privacy, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as we get into the report part and that kind of stuff. So touching on this particular slide here, our ecosystem runs like this: is that we have a genetic test that you take. It produces actionable results. We have created a genetic reference guide to help the practitioner develop protocols out of the findings, and then a solution of however you do your report of findings. It could be in a multitude of different ways. It's easy to put this in there and create what I call a lifetime protocol for your patients and taking them on the journey to optimal health. So, a little bit about genetic testing. First of all, the majority of genetic testing in the marketplace, and I'm not going to name company names because look, in this community, I've met a lot of people now, and I enjoy all of them. But the reality is this: the testing that they're doing is typically recreational and just kind of for fun. It's more of an entertainment type purposes. And that means things like nutrigenomics, which is great, but if you're using tests that are giving you 80% accuracy or not looking at the subparts of the genes, they'll look at just one gene on that chromosome, you're not getting the full picture of what you need to know. So we really wanted to use and develop a clinical grade test. So just a quick thing on genetic testing. There's two primary ends of this spectrum. In genetic testing, there's something called PCR, which is where you'll test one, two, three, four, maybe five or six gene markers at one time. That's all that will fit literally in the tray that's tested. It's very, very precise. It's used specifically for cancer or other health diagnosis. That's PCR. And again, very accurate, but limited. You only get a few things tested. On the other end of the spectrum is a great technique called next generation sequencing. That they test very wide or a broad test, but they don't necessarily go too deep on looking at those subgenes because if you do, it's more expensive. So there's a middle of that. And so that left part is called sequencing. Where we're living is in this space called mass spectrometry. And there's a company in San Diego. They produce a machine called the Mass Array. The name of the company is Agena Biosciences. And If you give them the specific genes that you want to test, they will develop a custom tray for you and they'll run it at the same clinical grade as like a PCR. So it's a cross of PCR and sequencing using the weight, so the actual matter weight, to get you very precise readings on your genetics. This is a clinical grade test. This is what you would get if you're at a John Hopkins or if you're at MD Anderson. All of those are using this test. That's how specific we are. So when we first came in 2 years ago, this test was $990 for each test that was run. That was the cost of it. So my goal was to help, how do we negotiate the pricing to get it down to where it's palatable so that the end consumer, your patients, can actually purchase this test. So we partnered with a company in Texas by the name of Gene by Gene and MyDNA, thus the name Reveal MyDNA. We're the authorized distributor for that organization on their preventative medicine side of business. So we're building a network of practitioners. We have about 600 practitioners right now nationwide, also including Puerto Rico, that we have a couple there. And we're building out this network. So we have a clinical grade test that gives you the absolute best in testing quality. And the next step really was, well, how do we make sure this is all extremely private? That the data that comes from this is owned by that practitioner as well as the patient at the end. Technically owned by the patient, but the patient gives that practitioner the ability to look at the results and determine the results. So here's what we've done for that is Gene by Gene already had great privacy things in place. We just discussed with them, what's the process? So when a cheek swab is done, which is part of our test, and it arrives at the lab, the name of the patient comes off of it and a number is assigned to it. It then passes through a firewall. So it arrives at MyDNA Incorporated, its own entity. At that point, it goes through that firewall into the lab. The lab is Gene by Gene. And in there is where the analysis takes place. Here's an important part on the analysis. Most sequencing tests take about a month to get your results back. Some of them 23 days, but the majority a month, because they're not going very deep, but they're running everything. It's a real broad test. So it takes a long time to get your results back. Here's what's nice about our test. All of the weights are known. So when we run this in the test, it comes back really quickly, like in a couple of days. So once it arrives at our lab, we get results back to you in anywhere from 10 to 14 days, including the report that is delivered to you. So let's go back to the security thing here, is our test. So it's in the lab, it's analyzed. At that point, it passes through another firewall to our reporting agency, separate company. They put a report onto the results. And then from there, it pairs back up as it gets delivered into a portal that's end-to-end encrypted. So in that portal, that's where the name and the birth date gets put back on the report, and then the doctor downloads it from that portal that's completely secure. SOC 2 encryption, so that everything is completely secure. Even when we, move it from one space to another, it's all moving through this SOC 2 end-to-end encryption, which is called 253. So we spend a lot of time on this, and we've taken some time to build this so that you have the protections in place. Turnaround time, I talked about that. 9-10 days. I've seen some come back at 7. I'd say the average is 12 to 14. And some of that could be when it actually arrives at the lab. If it arrives on a Friday, it's not going to go into the system until Monday and test then. So it takes like an extra day or two. That's where those variances tend to come in. So that's our test, clinical grade. You would find this at research institutes, the best world-renowned research institutes around the world. There's only one other organization that is using this. I won't say their name again, but it's a gentleman or someone associated with someone in the cognition space that's really well known in our industry. It's just the two of us. No one else is doing it at this level quality of test. And we're really proud of that. We think that we've done this. We've negotiated great pricing. If you buy enough of the equipment, and our lab is the largest here in the United States, Gene by Gene, again, really, really well respected. Um, we can negotiate prices. So we went to the manufacturer of the equipment and the trays, and we said, look, let's all come together on this and find a way to make this accessible to the preventative community. And so we've come up with amazing pricing. Doctor pricing on our test is $295. You can mark it up to whatever you would like to your patients. I think the average is probably around $400. It's a wide range. I think our top guy has it at 798 as far as expense. Some do it just over the cost and do it mainly to sell supplements. So, Melissa, if you can move to the next slide there, and we'll talk about the next part here, which is the actionable results or our report. And so, in actionable results, everyone in this space tends to look at the nutrient side. And yes, I agree. It's very important. Diet and the nutrients are really important. We all know that. You've probably been marketed to join this email, because I've worked with you in the nutrition space at some point, or my organization has at some time. But there's really two other aspects outside of the nutrigenomics category that are really important, and it's something that we test for and have added to our test. One is exercise. Two is lifestyle, meaning toxins. What is out there in the environment? And then we'll touch on diet and we'll touch on nutrients. So on this slide, what you're looking at here is like a screenshot or a picture, in a sense, of our report that comes to you. Our report is very robust. There's 110 to 115 pages of amazing data that comes back to you, the practitioner. The left columns is giving you the readings from someone's genetic test. These are offset a little bit so we can put the logo in there. But let's look at the top two set of boxes. So on the left, it says exercise, and then it says cold endurance. When you see things that are to the far right, as far as a reading goes, those are areas where you really want to take a look at that particular box and read more about it. So you would do that by moving where Melissa has her cursor to that next box. And that's, in this example here, is ACTN3, which is a particular gene. Here, so that gives you a snapshot of what our results test looks like. You'll have numerous, like hundreds of these boxes with the gene, as well as a commentary to the right, things that you can eat or do, breathing exercises, etc. But here's why the exercise piece is unique and something that was really cool that we put together when we started working with our guys over at the lab. Is most people just think, hey, exercise in general is good. And there's been a lot of science done on exercise. I think we would all agree that exercise is important. However, are you doing the right type of exercise? Much like we have fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, we also have that in exercise, but we don't pay attention to it. We just think, heart rate, get your heart rate up a little bit, you're doing good. You hear people talk about zone 2 exercise. Yes, that's great for creating a baseline, but what exercise is really genetically best for you? And here's where we looked a little bit further is, well, if you do the wrong type of exercise, what does it do to you? What it does is it creates inflammation in your body. And we know that inflammation over a long period of time is the precursor to most diseases. So in looking at that, we have found genetic markers primarily around ACTN, and whether or not you're doing a certain type of exercise is not beneficial to you. I always felt like I was a runner. I'm not the biggest guy out there. And in high school, I started running, and I felt like, okay, I'm a runner. I'll go out and run 3 to 5 miles, and that's my exercise. And then there's also HIIT training. So there's more of an aerobic, then there's HIIT training where it's kind of up and down. And then there's resistance training. Could be weightlifting, could be calisthenics, pull-ups, push-ups, those sorts of things. And so in looking at these sequence of genes, we can determine which creates the least amount of inflammation for your patient. So I had always been that runner. It came back that I should be doing HIIT training. So I've made that change recently in the last 4 or 5 months, and I'm doing HIIT training. Interestingly enough, I've lost an extra 11 or 12 pounds that I didn't even know I really needed to lose. But I've really, like, toned up, and I feel like really, really good from this exercise plan. And it's been a lot of fun just doing different things. Some of it is I do a hill run and walk back down, etc. The point is this: around exercise, we say go out and exercise, but the reality is know what exercise to do. Should I be doing HIIT training? Should I be doing more resistance training, or more of an endurance set? Anyways, again, very unique. SOD2 is the gene that shows the inflammation variation. So we pair those together as a subgene and let that determine the type of workout that you should be doing. Is the lifestyle factor. This is talking about different chemicals that we'll see in our life, from the common ones like lead, but there's also arsenic, etc. And then you'll see a couple listed here. When it's a high priority, yes, they're all bad for you. But which ones are worse for you and worse for your patients that they really need to avoid? Or if they're in the presence of these, what else can they do? So they'll give you different things that you can do. Could be from a nutritive factor, it could be from an air quality factor, it could be, I've seen come back with teaching how to do different Tai Chi or yoga breathing type exercises. We exhale and we get a lot of toxins out through our breath. So doing box breathing and some of those things are amazing for toxicity removal from the body. So we talk about that in the toxin side of this, or what I call the lifestyle side of this. And so you get some really, really nice features around this. Like, let's take a look at the top one here. It's a high priority on the box to the left. So if you look to the right, it talks about uh, carcinogens and like tobacco smoke, asphalt, coal. If you're high priority here, you probably shouldn't be working, laying asphalt, because it's going to be more toxic to you than others. For someone that's a high priority, doing things like green tea or turmeric, resveratrol, vitamin A, E, C, cruciferous vegetables, that sort of thing. It gives you actionable steps for your lifestyle. So, anyways, that's the lifestyle component of the test. Now, moving to the next one is diet. And this actually has become, I think, what is the most talked about among the thousands of tests that we've now done, that the patients talk about. So, as you go through your test, which I said is 112 pages, and you've got all these boxes, all of the ones that are high priority to the right, it aggregates them down below in the test, and it gives you an output right here that's called your personalized DNA based grocery list. It's typically 2 pages, a front and a back. People print it out and they keep it, and they're recommended to eat these types of foods on a regular basis. When I say regular, I mean multiple times per week, 2, 3, 4 times a week. So for this particular person, somewhere in their test, starting at the top, vitamin B2, vitamin B6, those are probably coming out of the methylation section of the test, and it gives you food recommendations. And this is another thing that's really cool. I cut my teeth in the whole food industry, and I still live there today. And that I really believe in whole foods as much as possible. There are times where we need some nutraceutical to help get through certain moments of health, and hopefully before you go to the pharmaceutical route. But here it gives you, lamb, salmon, yogurt, liver, oysters, mushrooms. It gives you the things that you should be eating for high levels of that vitamin B2. So B6, we'll talk about it there as well. And beta carotene, sweet potatoes, etc. Betaine down below, coming in from beets, etc. That might be the cognition section, talking about that a little bit. So you'll get this whole grocery list. People can print it out and take it with them when they go shopping, or make a list and then develop recipes out of it. Our sales director, Adam Davis, has a great way of helping develop recipes off of this list. So he's able to help you guys out with that if you like, or to teach you guys how he does that. So it's a pretty cool system. So anyways, this is the diet portion of our ecosystem of your report. So so far we've talked about lifestyle, we've talked about exercise, and we've talked about what you should eat. And now the part that most people are probably interested in, and that is the supplement side. What do you get from a nutrient standpoint? So on this, we said, look, let's find out or develop products that are really specific to the genetic markers and actually list right on the front of the bottle what genes these nutrients are supporting. Again, whole food based, um, and of good quality. I would challenge anyone to put this up against what they're currently using, and love the products that we've created. We have 14 or 15 products. It's not right for everyone. It's meant to augment what you might be doing already. Or if you don't want to use this and you want to use your products that you're using, that's great too. We have an assortment of different relationships with these different companies. So we're able to provide guidance on which of those products, and we'll talk about that here in a second as well. So we do have a line of nutrients. If you're interested in that, when you open an account with us, you'll have the access to buy these at a wholesale price. It's um, substantially off, of course, off of the list price. All of them end in gen, as in genetics, iGen, cardiogen, livergen, et cetera, hormone balance gen, I think it is. So we've got 14 or 15 products there for you to look at. This is our genetic reference guide. This document is, I don't even know how long. It keeps growing. But I'm going to give you an overview of how this works. This is what takes genetics and might seem complicated, and it makes it simple. So as we look at this here, um, the first one at the top, just to kind of point to it because it's easiest to follow along. This comes to you in a PDF document. Right now, we have our products listed here, but we also have versions of this with Gaia Herbs, Doctor's Research, Standard Process. And so if you're using those companies, you ask for that version and we give you the output of it. Here's how this works. So at the top one, it'll say folate and then MTHFR 1298, a really common genetic mutation within our methylation panel. So Melissa, if your cursor there, if you could kind of just circle around that so people can see what it is that I'm talking, because there's a lot on this screen, but it's the top one right there where it says folate MTHFR 1298. Gives you a little bit of detail around the particular gene, but then if you move to the right, it gives you the name of it. So if you want to copy and paste that to learn more, you can. It also tells you then what generic nutrients you should be looking for: folate, methylated folate. And then we have the company, which is our product, Agent Genomics, which is our brand of supplements. But then here's where it gets really interesting: is to the right of that, it says research. If you want research data on that particular nutrient as it ties to that gene, everything is going to have some sort of scientific support behind it. If it doesn't have some there, yes, we've used some common sense approach because some of the products in other companies, they may not have qualified research behind them. We still listed them there because either the company or us determined it was best to have it listed there. So we can't do it from here, but it's when you have this as a PDF open on your screen, you click on it, it literally brings up the study so you can read it right there and get either the summary version of it or the whole version of it. You'll see these come from PubMed. They'll come from a bunch of different sources. Nature is one, JAMA is another. So you're getting the data behind it. So if you have someone with a mutation at MTHFR 1298, you literally go in and you find in that section. So right now we're in the methylation section, which is right at the top there. And you would look to that gene, you would look to the right, it tells you what product to use. So if it's, for example, Doctor's Research, it would list a different product in there. If it's Gaia Herbs, it'd be something else. Standard Process, it would list the different product that would be supportive. If there's multiple products, it's going to give you all of them. Then you need to do your doctoring and take a look at it and determine which one is best for your particular patient. So that is our genetic reference guide. And again, I say a difference maker because for those 600 accounts that are using us right now, we hear this from the practitioners all the time that they keep this open as a tab on their screen. And this is how they develop the protocols. It's how they pull product in. They might have a list of 12, and then they pare it down to maybe 3 or 4 products for a particular patient. They might work on methylation first, or they might work on hormones first, those sorts of things. So that's the genetic reference guide. And again, I think it's the difference maker that brings you a full nutritional ecosystem to your practice. So here is this next step, and that is the solution, meaning you've given someone a test, they've taken the test, you've got this amazing report in front of you with a bunch of data, you've gone through it, you found all the high priorities, you've developed a protocol, and then you want to deliver that to them. You're providing them with a copy of their test, which you can print or you can email it to them or however you want to give it to them. And then this fits in with whatever current report of findings you're doing. If you're a chiropractor and you do, a second day report, you can deliver it there with this. It could be down the road at a future visit if you're doing nutrition then. Whenever it is that you're doing this and whatever form you use it in, we don't provide you the form. We have one if you want it, just ask, and we'll give it to you to fill out and give to your patient. But we wanted this to be able to fit with everyone. So whatever you currently do, we fit right into it. So if you are a muscle tester and you're muscle testing, you could layer this right below it or beside it to see where the overlap is from what you found in muscle testing to their genetics. And that creates a really, really nice, solid foundation to give some nutritional guidance on. It could be blood testing that you're doing, et cetera. Also within our report, I talked about the grocery shopping list. We also put in a section that based upon someone's genetics, what blood markers they should go get checked. And this is just to help validate some of what they might have going on. Keeping in mind that blood is checking that specific timestamp right at that moment when they walk in and they draw the blood. Your genetics is what you've inherited from mom and dad. And so mom and dad are here, and then where are you at in today's stance? That's where the blood work part comes in. So someone could do blood work with this as well. So this is where it all kind of comes together. So you've got the test, got an amazing report that gives you just this wealth of knowledge. And then you have what I call the difference maker, and that's the genetic reference guide. Then you deliver it to your patient. In that delivery of the patient, the protocol side, I term it a lifetime protocol because, again, this is something you've inherited from mom and dad. So for me, for example, I'm going to take bioflavonoids for the rest of my life. And if I would have known that I was 20, I'd have been doing that, now from whatever company it is. And if it's not from a professional brand, it could even be an over-the-counter brand. But I would have been doing that, and I wasn't before. So it most likely led to something happening to me in my 50s. So a lifetime protocol is kind of what comes of this. Typically, after working with someone and looking at their test, you'll find that one or two nutrients that they're going to need frequently. Choline is something that comes up a lot that we see is needed. Both cognition help, some liver support. Betaine is also really important. There's a lot in the cardiovascular side of the test. I'm trying to think of what else, because this kind of wraps it up for us here. I'd love for everyone to join us as being an account with us. It's free to open an account. It's $295 for you to order a test. We send you free test kits, and you have them on your shelf so that when someone wants to run a test and they pay you, you don't pay for the test until you register the kit number in the portal. So it sits on your shelf. I think as we send you 5 or 10 when you first open the account. And like I said, it's free of charge to do this. A couple of other things. I see a couple of questions coming up here. So we'll probably hit to those here in just a moment and answer the questions for you guys. Keeping in mind that when you do this genetic test, you only have to do it one time because they get their results. It's what they inherited. This is not epigenetic. This is that hardwiring. It's what did you inherit at birth? And then what are you going to take and do about those mutations that you have? We do what's called cross variable testing. So if MTHFR 1298 comes up, there's another 8 or 10 that are going to come up below it that we check for. If that one doesn't have a mutation in it, then we don't open those. So every test is going to be a little bit different so that you actually have variety. It's not just a static, hey, everybody gets this one thing. There's a very popular Instagram guy out there that talks about his methylation test and these 5 genes, and those are great. But those 5 genes are just a starting point. There's another 3 or 4 genes underneath that should be looked at when you're doing those tests. And we have, of course, all of those so that you're able to take a look at methylation. All right, let's go to some questions here. I'm going to pull these guys up and see what we can do. And Melissa, if you have anything to add as well, but let's see here. Thank you. Hi, Bruce. Nice to see you as well. Thank you for joining, and appreciate the kind words there. Miss Perry, thank you for this talk. Yes, the recording will be sent out to you. Do you recommend doing a food sensitivity along with the DNA testing? That's a great idea. That's up to you as a practitioner. We don't do that here, but that I think is a great kind of augmentation to our test, because you'll see some things, like sensitivities to celiac. Obviously, you're going to see that in our test, but the individual foods, I think it's a great way to take a look at that. So that is something that that you could look at. What is the website to look at the nutritional products? So Reveal My DNA has, I believe, a link to it that takes us to Agen Genomics. AgenGenomics.com is where the supplements are housed. That's the retail price that you see there. You get a discount, obviously, as a practitioner, so that it can be a profit center for you to your patients as well. But Melissa, if you want to put that in, you can do that, so that we in the follow-up email to make sure they see where the product's are at. Or better yet, we have catalogs, and we'll send you a version of it. But this is our beautiful glossy printed catalog for each of our products. And so we have that. Once you start ordering products, we'll send that out to you guys as well. Let's see.
Chris,
Yes.
in order for practitioners to see the wholesale prices of the products, they need to go to revealmydna.life
Okay.
and they need to create an account. And it's just with us locally, but it allows them, you just put in your name and your email, and then we approve it right away. And then that allows you to see the wholesale prices so that not just anybody can go see them.
Perfect. Thank you so much, because I didn't know that. So thank you, Melissa, for that on the logistics side. I appreciate that. Keisha asked about product companies. If you're using Biotics and Standard Process, I have to take a look at all of the different companies that we have. I'm not 100% sure that we have Biotics in there. I think we might, but we have a master one that shows them all. We typically like to just send the one of companies that you say you're using. But yes, we have that so you can see the genetic reference guide. And maybe we'll send a version. We'll send out our version of it with our products. And then once you open an account and you're starting to look at using it, we'll show you the other companies, or we can put in there what companies we have. And that way you would know. And if you have a company you're using and they're not in there yet, let us know. Companies are coming to us. Premier Research Labs just came to us and asked for this as well. So we're now partnered with them as well. But they love being included in this because it's a benefit to them. Let's see here. I opened an account a couple of years ago and have the test kits. So test kits do not expire. It's just a liquid buffer that's in there along with the cheek swab. And then also keep this in mind, you guys, that we send you 5 kits. That has a prepaid envelope to get it back to our lab in Houston. And we're paying for it to come back to the lab. Obviously, we pay for that when we put the sticker on there. So don't order extra ones if you're not going to use them. We appreciate that. But we want you to know that the end user, we want this as simple and seamless for them as possible. It comes into our lab, it starts that processing at that particular moment, but there's no expiration on it, and we cover the postage to get it back to you. Let's see. Paula, retired MD. Yes, you qualify to open an account. Just if you have your license number when you open the application or you fill it out, if it's expired for some reason, that's not a problem. There's a database that we pull from, or if you have an old NPI number, that'll work as well for you. Kits do not expire. The cognitive portion. So cognitive portion centers primarily around APOE. And APOE has a couple different variations, E2, E3, and E4. And in the readings there, you'll get nutrient recommendations for each of those, depending on what base you're at. If you're E2, you're going to get a real, kind of guided thing, but it moves a little bit past just cognition, kind of down into how is maybe homocysteine affecting the brain as well, because it can be toxic and kind of damage some of the cells around microcirculation. Then if you're E3, that's the most common result. That's going to generally just say, hey, it's good to take fish oils. And then E4 is the one where people want to pay the most attention to their health and cognitive health. From there, it gets into a series of different things that create stress, because then that stress leads to other precursors. Stress, both from a cortisol standpoint being elevated, but also insulin because of certain food characteristics that you might be consuming during your diet. I'll be nice with that. And then from there, we move on a little bit to getting into like PEMT and a few others in that cognition side. So in the sample report, you can look at the cognition piece, and that's going to get emailed to you right here afterwards, so you can take a look and see if it's a right fit for you. How many genes? 92 genes, 112 SNPs. Do the test include anything, all the lines of mitochondrial health? Yes. So great point. So I wouldn't say it gets specific to mitochondria. There might be a few others that touch in it, because there's a lot of data here. But yes, there is a part that takes a look at overall cellular health. I believe it's in the DNA repair section, and so we would have some in there. But again, you take a look at the report and see if it's a right fit for you guys. Specific certification needed? There is not. As long as you're a practitioner, you can open an account. And if someone doesn't, they're not a practitioner that we have kind of listed in a sense. Some states acupuncturists are licensed, sometimes they're not. We have decided that acupuncturists are just as qualified as anyone, and they can use their credentials to get an account with us. So yes, we work pretty well with that. Hi, Catherine. Good to see you. You've been looking for a genetic test to complement our epigenetic test, and the info or private, not shared anywhere in any shape or form. Yes, 100% completely secure. We use a series of firewalls so that it is not shared. I know there's companies out there that have gotten creative with this, and they sell, we don't sell your data, but they rent it. It's ridiculous. The data is owned by the patient, and we strongly believe in that. So nothing is rented, sold, used. The only thing that would be there is a name and an email that, so that we know kind of who it is that took the test. But the results of it, it's completely encrypted. It's not going anywhere. And we have, like I said, a series of firewalls there. So extremely secure. And again, I can confidently say this. And just this morning, I went and visited Agena Biosciences here in San Diego, and we walked through the manufacturing of the systems. It's absolutely amazing to see the quality of these systems and the worldwide reach that they have within the research community, hospitals. The clinical grade test that you're getting with us is different than anyone else in this space in preventative medicine. So I think it's great to pair it with your epigenetic test. And we're working on some things epigenetic that can increase, because right now most epigenetic tests, they're about 82 to 85% accurate. So there's a lot of variance in there, and we want it to be above 97% to really be qualified. Because if you get the variance in there, then you might be doing things that not that they're going to be wrong per se, but you just want to know. People are spending their money. Healthcare is important in America. It's already confusing enough with insurance, all the other stuff going on. So we want them to get super high quality things at a great price point. Let's see. There was a direct message here. Yes, we'll email all the links out. Yeah, we have multiple different companies that you can have in the genetic reference guide. And if there's someone that you really like, let us know, and we'll get in touch with them and see if we can add them. Doctor price is $295. Couple thank yous. That's awesome. Yes, you can list multiple nutrition companies. just answered that. So we do not sell any results to anyone else. Let's see. A couple things on this because I see people talking about the selling of data, and I agree. It's funny is when the very first time that we sat down and looked at this business, Adam Davis, who's our sales director, he and I have known each other for years. He and I flew to Houston to kind of meet and interview this company as we were building this, and I was really adamant about the accuracy. How do we get pricing down and make it accurate? And Adam was super staunch about, hey, no selling of data. And we got a chance to meet some of their ownership group, and it is their first principle that the data is the data of the patient. So we hold it in very high regard. We use some fairly expensive software to be able to make sure that we keep things encrypted. So any transfer of data going back and forth, it's not where someone's going to hack into it. It's extremely, extremely secure. I would say more secure than the majority of the banking systems out there. And it rightfully, I think, should be because it is your health. So we, make it completely anonymous when it goes into the lab. It's a number. And then when it comes back out, it pairs up through a third sequencing in a sense, so that it can't get into some bad actor's hands. Keep this in mind that yes, our test is $295. I would say that you'll see this similar type area of testing, and people, say it's $199 or it's $99. Typically, that's where data is being sold or rented because then they get paid on the backside to get that information. Or they're using extremely low quality, just super low quality one pass genotyping, which is great for like ancestry and are my eyes going to be green. But when you want to know the depth, you want the highest of quality, and that's what we have with our test. Any other questions? Thank you guys for all the questions. This is amazing questions, by the way. And I'm hoping that everyone opens an account, at least do a test on yourself and your family. The price point's amazing. And then if you like it from there, start offering it to your patients. I think it's a great way to start is, it's the holidays. Maybe do a gift for your family to get this out. Mindy, is AI used to analyze? It is currently not used to analyze. We have algorithms that does the analysis coming out of the machine. They're called trays or wells. And in there is where the data goes. There's 96 slots on each tray. And we put that data in there. It then takes it and drops the tray and weighs the matter to get us that precise output or analysis. At that point, it is gone through to an algorithm within our report. Now, the report does use some artificial intelligence for the verbiage that is put into the report, but it's minimal. It's nothing used for analysis at this point. Any other questions? Thank you, Mindy. And the thing about AI, you guys, look, I think AI is going to be wonderful. I personally think that it's going to do a lot of really good things, but we don't really know all the other details yet. And so let's be cautious about it and not just turn everything over to AI and see what ends up, wherever. So at this point, we're not doing that. All right, you guys, I invite everyone to open an account with us. Like I said, it's free of charge. We'll send you 5 kits once it's your account's approved. Take them, use them for your family, yourself. Use them for the holidays. If you like what you're getting back when you see the report and so forth, I welcome you to put it into your practice. Take a look at our nutrition line. If you have any questions at all, we're here for you. We're a small team. We've got like 5 or 6 people on our team, but Melissa, who's been with me for, I joke 20 years, but it's actually like 14 or 15. We'd love to see you guys again and keep working together. So have a great day, everyone. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.